technology on the college campus. And so just a quick agenda. So first I'm going to go a little bit about who we are, and then we're going to delve right into the presentation. And then we're going to have about 5 minutes for Q&A at the end, and then discuss next steps. And so my name might be showing up as Prentice Davis, but I'm actually Mary Weiner, and I'm a manager here at the Gateway to College National Network. So just a quick overview. Gateway to College works to re-engage youth that have dropped out of high school or are off track. And we re-engage them back into a supportive college environment where they're able to work towards their high school diploma while also receiving college credit at the same time. Just a little bit about who we are. Gateway to College was founded 15 years ago as a partnership between Portland Public Schools and Portland Community College as a way of reconnecting dropouts in their education. And about 3 years after that, we received a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to replicate Gateway to College throughout the country. Gateway to College currently has 41 programs, as you can see from all the little dots on the map, in 21 states, and we partner with over 250 school districts. So about our impact. So to date, and actually this number is a little bit higher now, Gateway to College has served about 18,000 students, although I think that number is about 20,000 right now. Our average number of college credits that students earn are about 30. And 73% of our students who graduate from Gateway to College actually continue on with their post-secondary education. And in 2012 to 2013, $5.5 million in college scholarships were made available to our students. So quite a scope of impact. Now to jump right into the presentation, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Devora Sharma.
Hello, everyone. So we are talking about technology today. And for this first slide, I just pulled a couple of internet headlines. We hear a lot about how our young people are constantly connected, how they want to do everything mobilely. And here at Gateway, we wanted to really figure out if that was actually the case. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. This is a definition of digital and technology identity, which comes from Joanna Good. And Bill Turney has actually made the argument that this is really connected to school and education outcomes today, since we do use so much technology in our classrooms and on our college campuses. So when we're talking about the digital or technology identity for our students, we're thinking about their belief in their ability to use technology, how and what opportunities they have to participate, how important it is, and if they're motivated to learn more about new technology. So nationally, just to kind of locate us generally, all of this research comes from the Pew Research Center based on their 2014 data. And at that point, overall, it looked like about 73% of our teens have access to smartphones. About 15% have access to cell phones that are not a smartphone, so think old flip phone. More than half of teens have access to some sort of tablet, and 87% have access to a desktop or a laptop. 91% of teens are accessing the internet on a mobile device. So that would be a smartphone, cell phone, or a tablet. 92% of them are on the internet daily, and a typical teen sends and receives 30 texts a day. So this is clearly a fairly big part of our teens' lives. So here at Gateway, we wanted to better understand if our students were following those trends. So we partnered with Pacific Research and Evaluation, and actually Julie Murphy, who's been part of doing this study, is also on the phone and with us here in this webinar. And they, a year ago, put together a survey and administered it to our students across the country. Surveys were administered in fall 2014. They were administered online, so that does possibly slightly bias our results. Our incoming students took the survey as part of a class Returning students, we reached out to them via email and through their instructors. So in the results you're going to see in just a moment, we've got a little over 500 incoming students represented and just under 200 returning students in here from across the country at all of our Gateway to College programs. So one of the first things we want to know is, do they have access to and use smartphones and laptops and printers and those things in the same way that the national numbers show? And as you can see here, access rates are pretty similar for incoming and returning students, and about 87% of our incoming students have smartphones. So our students certainly have access to the technology. They also have pretty good access to laptop computers. You can see fewer of them are using desktop computers, and fewer of them own printers, which is something certainly to think about when we think about what access they have to printers on our college and school campuses. And this is the same graph, we just overlaid it so you can kind of see how close our returning and incoming students are. Okay. So we know they have it. How often are they using it? As you can see, these are incoming students on the top bar and returning students on the lower bar. And you can see virtually all of our students are on their smartphones almost every day. For those who own cell phones, they're a little less connected, but we still have about half of them using their phones daily. And this is interesting. You can see for the laptop computer, this is where we do actually see a shift between our incoming and returning students, with more of our continuing students using those laptops daily. So they may not start that way, but once they get into back into school and on the college environment, they're using their laptops a lot more. Okay. And are they like teens nationally accessing the internet via the smartphone? And yes, absolutely they are. 81% of them are on their smartphones using the internet daily. All right. So where things become less ubiquitous is when we start looking at the type of software applications that students have. So this was, what software applications do they have on their devices? And as you can see, this is just for incoming students. But really, it's much lower than internet usage. So word processing is 71% of our students have those on their devices. Only just over half, 55% of them, have some sort of presentation software. And only 46% of them have some sort of spreadsheet software like Excel. So part of what this means, we know our students are doing their homework, so they are probably accessing things like Google Docs, or if they have access to Office 365 through school. But a lot of them do not have these software on their devices, as many of us did growing up, which may affect their access, especially if they get themselves into places where they don't have internet access. Okay. So we also asked them how they're using their devices specifically for academic purposes. And this was really interesting. These are not exclusive categories, so they basically checked all that apply. But you can see second on here is the dictionary. So they really do use their devices just to look things up. They're also using it as a calculator. Only about 40% of them are using their calendars that way. And interesting, less than half of them are actually using their devices to take notes. The challenges that they have, we asked them again, all that apply, I believe. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong. But they have cited, as we would expect, one of their difficulties in using their IT devices is how good the internet connections are on campus, how much bandwidth there is. For those using their phones, some of them are talking about a poor mobile connection on campus. And then lower down the list, but still we see 1 out of 5 students is saying there's just a lack of opportunity to use their devices as part of class. And then a few mentioned lack of mobile-friendly websites or apps through campus. Okay, we did just ask them overall, and again, our students are across about 40 campuses across the country, but just generally whether they saw their college as a mobile-friendly environment. And we do see the majority are in the strongly agree and agree category. So despite the fact that some students have noted some barriers or challenges to using their devices while they're at school, most of them do see their campuses as mobile-friendly. So we also just asked them about their skill level. So how comfortable, remember this is part of their digital identity, and also we felt is really important as we know more and more classes rely on the ability to use things like word processing software and their learning management systems, understanding how they perceive their skill. Just because young people have grown up with technology doesn't mean they have all the skills they need to be successful with it. And so when we include high and medium categories together, we're doing pretty well. We're over 80% are comfortable with word processing. But if we look at the group that really rates themselves as high, that's about 30%. So students do have some reservations about how skilled they are at using some of these softwares. Presentation software is right behind the word processing. When it comes to graphics, video creation or audio creation, even fewer students are confident about their ability, and spreadsheets fall right in the middle there. Students are generally pretty comfortable searching via the internet, but I do think it's worth noting that we do have about 40% who rated themselves as medium as low. So we still want to make sure students have access to places to get more skilled to learn to become better internet searchers and surfers. And computer maintenance is the lowest one, which becomes important when students are waiting till the deadline and then their devices are crashing. So again, making sure we point students towards resources so that they can get better at this or know who can help them troubleshoot is really important. Okay, so we were also really interested in how students are both communicating with each other and how they see communication schools with school. For our faculty, this is probably one of the most important questions that we asked. So you can see here, text messages certainly win the prize. Email is a lot less. We have students who are checking email several times a week, but far fewer. We're just about 30% here that are checking them every day. Other students are doing instant messaging via either Facebook or Snapchat. This is the same information, just looking specifically at text and email so we can see the differences here. Texting really does win when we're looking at what are students connected to on a daily basis. So we also asked them how they use it on campus. And students are pretty clear. You can see here in the strongly agree and agree area that email is how you know what's happening on campus, how you know what's happening in class, and how you communicate with your faculty. However, again, we see this gap here with just under half our students who aren't even checking their email weekly. So they know it's important to find out information about class, but they're not necessarily going to get that information in a timely way. We also just asked this general question about if they wanted to keep their academic and social lives separate, as a way of really understanding what are the platforms that we should be exploring to communicate with students about school and academic matters. And you can see we've got about half our students who really do want to keep their lives separate. So we also need to take this into consideration as we think about how we communicate with them. Okay, so what does all this mean for our programs and our students? First of all, we were thrilled to discover that our students really do have access to the devices. So access is not the barrier. They either own these devices or they share them at home or they have access to them on campus, but students are not seeing the barrier of being able to use technology to participate in school as an access issue. They do see it as a little bit of a skill issue, though. With seeing so few students really rate themselves confidently and high in skill level with things that I think we as program directors and faculty and staff use every day, such as word processing, PowerPoint like we're using right here, and Excel sheets. We really need to remember to help share those small skills with students. And that means both doing actual workshops and giving them directed instruction during their classes, but it also means that, you know, as faculty are doing things on the projector, just sharing some of those shortcuts and tips that, you know, each of us have picked up along the way so that students can become more proficient. And then communicating with students, this is probably one of the biggest findings from the survey that will really help us. Students know the value of email, but it certainly is not the place that they are going to on a daily basis to get their information. And so we really need to be thinking about what are the different ways we can communicate with students. And I think it's also about helping faculty think more intentionally about how they're communicating with students. I think a lot of faculty, myself included, tend to rely just on email because that's how we do most of our communication in the work setting. But we need to remember students are across different platforms, and we may need to either convey a more varied strategy or be really direct with students about how often they need to be checking email to make sure they get information for their classes in a timely manner. All right, so I've got all of our resources up here so that when you access this later, you have them. Here's the information to reach out to Pacific Research and Evaluation directly, and the full report from them will be available by the end of next month up on the Gateway to College research website as well. All right, any questions for us? Julie, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think you did a great job. I think the communication one is the most interesting one, and you know, like you had said, the combination of perhaps email and texting was the other one that was really interesting. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, if there aren't any questions, here's some information on the next steps. So if you're interested in learning more about Gateway to College services, please email Devor or I, and we will get back to you. I will be sending out the recording of this slide as well as the slide deck too, so you'll be able to view that later, and our contact information. So if you do, oh, there's one question. It's from Isaac. He said, I didn't catch the research, but was it done through the national network?
Yes, it was. So all of the students participating in this survey were Gateway to College students. We did slightly different surveys for our new incoming students and for our returning students. But all of them are students who are associated with a Gateway to College program.
Great. Okay, well, I hope that answer suffices. And like I said, if there are any more questions, feel free to email one of us, and our contact information will be sent out in that email. Well, thank you. So these questions were implemented through the new student survey?
No, this was a separate, distinct survey that we did just to look at the issues of technology access.
just a comment that'll take it back to the staff. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you all.